Hello chess friends and welcome to the channel. My name is Mauri. Today we are looking at a puzzle from 1930 by TB Georgiev where it's white to play and win. Okay, let's start with the most obvious. Why can't we just take this rook on c2? Well, that runs into rook h8 check, and then black takes the white rook on a8, and we have a theoretical draw even though white is a piece up. So that doesn't win. And then you might ask, what if we give this check here first so that the rook can't be taken afterwards? Well, then black just plays king d3 and defends his rook on c2, and white can't win this, for example, here. Then black can block and black survives again. So back to the drawing board it is. We can't take the rook, we can't give the check, and we can't win with a king move. So what's left? Well, there's the bishop, and indeed the first correct move is bishop e5 check, and this is a tactic known as deflection. So we're deflecting the black king to go to a square that is going to be a bad square, and we'll see in a moment. But first, what if he tries to keep defending his rook on c2? Well, now it doesn't work. Before it did work, but now it doesn't work after the move rook 8 to a3 check, because as you can see now there is no rook c3 to block, because that can now be taken. And if you keep trying to defend the rook like this, then comes bishop f4 check, and after king d1, rook a1 wins, as you can see. If you block, then there is take, or if you play this move, then this rook cannot be taken, and white is indeed winning. So that's why this is such a great deflection tactic, bishop e5 check, because king d3 doesn't work. So what else are you going to do besides taking the bishop? So now what are you going to do as white? Are you just going to take the rook? Let's have a look at that. Unfortunately, that doesn't work after rook h8 now. And then black takes that rook, and we have a drawn position. So finding the first move was a good start, but then we have to follow it up. We can't take on c2, so how do we win now? That's the question. And the winning move is yet another check. Remember those forcing moves, especially the checks. And this is the move that wins. The point being that if you move to a random square, like say d4, now we can just take the rook, of course. And now there is no skewer like before with the rook h8. But black has two tries that are much better than king d4. The first one is king d6. So how do you win now? Do you just take the rook? It would be a sort of a mistake after this little checkmate up here. So that won't do it after king d6. So how do you win now? Well, you give another check. These checks are pretty good in this puzzle. Rook a6. The point being that if you move the king to a random square, now we can of course take. And if you block, then rook d2 wins. For example, here, then take, or king c5. Now we just win with rook c2. And in this position, you can choose which rook you're going to use to take the black rook with a winning position. So that's how you win against this nice try, which was king d6. If we go back to where were we? Rook 8 to a5 check. King d6, which was a good try but didn't quite work. Another even better try perhaps is the move rook c5. How do you win now? Well, obviously there's nothing else for white to do if he wants to win than to take this rook, because otherwise how else do you win? But now comes again this move king d6. So how do you win here as white? Because black does have two threats, doesn't he? He's threatening obviously to take the rook, and if you move it or defend it, then comes again rook h8 with the checkmate. So how do you win? Well, if you have seen an earlier puzzle on this channel by C.V. Bononier from the 13th century, we're going to use basically exactly the same tactic as in that puzzle. It is a deflection tactic again. You are forcing a piece to go to basically what's a poisoned square, and the move is rook h5. So this seems to be just losing the rook, and black doesn't have anything better to take it, because there is a threat also of rook to a6 checkmate. And let's say you play a move like rook c1 to block this checkmate like this. It doesn't work, of course, after rook c6 and rook h6, and then the rook on c6 can just be taken. So that doesn't work. I just wanted to show you this sideline. Of course, in the main line, after rook h5, black just takes, but that, like I said, was a deflection tactic where this rook has been forced to a poison square, and this runs into a skewer after the move rook a6 check. So another deadly check in this puzzle. King has to go to the 5th rank, but now of course comes rook a5 check, and this is a skewer winning the black rook. And we have an easily winning position here. Alright, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.